So for me, the title, Lo, a Vase in the Dark, is kind of evoking this mood of the show that emerges as one sort of enters a space of darkness or the unknown, what you might discover as you sort of look deeply into a thing in the same kind of way as you might look deeply into the dark. So for me, this body of work emerged from this research that I was doing on my family's genealogy. The kind of initial desire for that research was kind of born from this desire to know more about the origins, the sort of spatial geographic origins of my body, of my family, of where the material of me came from. And what emerged from that was this understanding that genealogy, it sort of records the passing down of bloodline or kind of legal document through marriage and childbearing. And for me, that was important and interesting and also hard because as a queer person, I couldn't sort of see how I or my family fit into that arrangement. So there's a sense that, certainly there were other queer people in my family passed down the generations, but that wasn't accounted for. And so those people are lost to me. I think of them as like ghosted a second time after their deaths. What does my queer lineage look like? Where is it rooted in the earth? Where is it rooted in my own blood? I discovered that my great-great-grandmother, Katharina Kerber, was from the area where the Venus of Willendorf was found on the Danube in Austria. And that discovery sort of cracked something open for me in the sort of sense of this sort of sacred body that has this deep presence. I had the sense of like finding an anchor in a sacred body. That's significant to me because I have the sense of queer ancestry, queer lineage as constructed. So as I was working with this idea, I was working with 3D scans. I scanned my body. I used a scan of the Venus of Willendorf. I scanned ceramic works that I did and scans of ancient Greek masks. Throughout this process, I was thinking about the way that that file could be in the virtual that had this sort of malleability and reproducibility and ephemeral nature to it. Again, kind of like a ghost. So these large sculptures originated from these scans that I filtered through this process that's typically used for 3D printing clay, but I made the size of my imaginary printer as big as my kilns, and I made the print line as big as the coils that I was working with. So I could go back and forth in between that digital space, looking at each sort of layer as I built by hand. This sort of way in my practice that I track back and forth in between, deep embodiment, deep sort of materiality in clay, and the sort of ephemeral, virtual, digital space is because I have this sense of our bodies sort of existing in these spaces sort of always, whether it's through the dream or through trance or through entering into virtual space. In this series of software that I developed, I was able to draw the print line that the clay printer then executed. So rather than the clay printer following a path that's given to it from the sort of logic of the software, it's following my logic. I think about these masks as experiencing a series of animations. So there was sort of the animating of the materiality of the mask by the original maker. then the animating of the mask by, the actor or series of actors that use this mask. And then as I'm drawing the mask, I'm sort of animating the mask again through sort of my intention, and then finally animated once again by the clay printer.